We're still.
Nope. Is that me or you?
Oh.
Now they're on.
Okay. All right. Good evening and welcome to the January 11th, 2024 meeting of the City of Kalamazoo Zoning Board of Appeals, a voluntary advisory board appointed by the City Commission. Mr. Eldridge, could you please conduct a roll call?
Wark. Here. Vanden Hamburg.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
Holer.
Here.
McReynolds.
Here.
For each public hearing, public comments will be accepted during the times as indicated on tonight's meeting agenda. Community members that wish to provide public comments over the phone can call 888-382-9556 during the public comment period. They will enter a queue and will be prompted to offer their comments in turn. Callers will be commenting to the board live and will no longer be able to leave a recorded message. Are there any announcements or changes to the original agenda?
We have no announcements or changes tonight.
We will move on to the acceptance of last month's minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes?
Yes. On page 18, where there's a recap on what occurred, like when we were discussing the new members, it says philosophical bin, and it should be philosophical bent.
You got that? Which paragraph is that? That's,
I reviewed the document online,
oh, okay.
so it was 18 on the minutes online.
Page 18 though,
You
okay.
see it? Sorry. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I will find it. I will find it.
It's on page, 18 of 53, where it says, we were talking about the analysis, developing an analysis based on past historic and current landscape of people's choices and how they operate in their philosophical bent.
Okay. Good catch.
Thank you.
Are there any additional changes to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Approve.
I would second.
Okay. Motion carried. Well, excuse me. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Madam Chairman, the motion to approve should indicate whether it's accepting the change
Okay.
referenced by Board Member Harrington.
I accept the changes.
All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye to accept the proposed changes.
Aye.
All of those, please signify by saying nay. Motion carried. Now that the meeting minutes from last month have been approved, we will move on to our meeting procedure. If there are any changes to be made, okay, excuse me. I will now explain our procedure for tonight's public hearing. For each request, the secretary will read the application into the public record. The applicant or representative will then have 10 minutes to provide their comments. Upon approaching the podium, we ask that the applicant or the representative speak slowly, stating their name and organization.
Okay.
Following Following that, the public is invited to step up to the podium, starting with those who wish to speak in favor of the application. Please state your name slowly and clearly, and you will have 3 minutes. Following that, the public is invited to step up to the podium with those who wish to speak in opposition of the application or otherwise to comment and do the same. Next, we will hear any call-in comments that will be aired for the board and audience. After this, we will close the public hearing on the request. Once the public hearing is closed, the board will then conduct what is called the finding of fact, where the board states what they feel are the facts of the request. The board must approve the finding of fact. Therefore, the first vote you hear is not on the ruling, but a vote on the finding of fact. Then the board discusses the request in order to determine a ruling. The board reserves the right to ask questions of persons who have already spoken, even though the comment portion is closed. Please be sure to have all communications with the board from the podium via microphone. Once discussion is ended, the board will move on to a roll call vote. A full board consists of 6 members with 4 votes required to grant a non-use variance or a use variance. Will the board secretary now read the first application into the record?
Yes, you just read that there will be call-ins. Will there be call-ins? Or
Yes. Yeah.
This is the last meeting for call-ins
No, we are going to continue call-ins at this point
for the ZBA?
for the ZBA.
It's the city
yes.
commission
The city,
that
okay,
changed it.
all right, I just
Yeah.
wanted to, okay, ensure that we were able to do that. All right. An application for a variance for provisions of the zoning ordinance has been filed with the Zoning Board of Appeals by Derek Molitor, excuse me, am I saying that correctly? And Joanna Parzakonis. And they are requesting a dimensional variance from Appendix A, Chapter 5, 5.1, Table 5.1-1 of 8 feet from the required 25-foot front building setback along Ridge Road for a residential addition. Please note that the request will not change the zoning classification of the properties.
Will the applicant please step up to the podium, sign in, provide your name, and explain the request in the 10 minutes provided?
Sorry, are we supposed to enter the project address or our personal residence address?
Project. The project.
The project.
Okay. All right, so my name is Arnie Block. I'm with Block Builders Incorporated, and here tonight with Derek Molitor, representing Derek and his wife, Joanna, on their variance request application. So Thanks to some help from Peter, I think we've gotten all the relevant information in the agenda packet. It's very helpful. So my goal tonight here is not to review all of the information, just kind of give the big picture overview of this request. The address that we're seeking the variance request for is 222 Glenwood Drive. This is on the Westinge Hill neighborhood, and I've got it highlighted here on the map in green. This property is built or is developed on an area where there's a strong ridge kind of around where that mouse is rotating now. It's flanked on the east side by Glenwood Drive and on the west side by Ridge Road, so it has two road frontages. The area you can see highlighted on the east side here has a steep slope to it, making it not ideal for development. I need to figure out how to turn okay. So a couple views. This is a view again from the east side, from the Glenwood Drive side, facing the house is the White House. Here on the top of the hill, again highlighting this steep slope on this east side of the property. This steep slope is both not practical to build a drive on, neither is it safe, and it's also actually protected under the natural feature protection overlay, which limits the development for that area. So again, another view kind of looking straight on there, showing how much slope you have there. And another view kind of looking from the other side, again, highlighting just the amount of slope. Even if you were able to build a drive here, I wouldn't deem it safe given the curvature of the road where that, the right-of-way access probably would not be very safe. So some considerations to keep in mind. So looking from the Ridge Road side, this is the road frontage on the west side of the property then. This is where most of the development in that area has been done. Most of the neighbors have their access from Ridge Road. It's much flatter, lower slope, much more ideal for access. Some things you can see here is this drive here is currently fairly narrow, and the garage on the existing house is actually a side load garage. It's fairly narrow again, really allowing only one vehicle in the garage, and there's no additional parking for vehicles up by the house. So either a vehicle is parking for more access, parking in the yard here, or stacking in the driveway, or quite often what ends up happening is parking on the right of way. Again, looking from the Ridge Road side, showing, oops, I don't know how to get rid of that, but okay. Just showing the area that this proposed development is being done in. And one more angle from Ridge Road. So here's a survey. This was done for us by Whiteman. This is the same property. Again, here, Glenwood Drive on the east side, Ridge Road on the west. This area in the front yard is the area affected by the steep slope and the natural feature protection overlay protections, making it not really suitable for development at all. Here's the current garage. It's accessed from this side here with a narrow drive along this side of the property. Not making for good traffic flow in and out of the house or access, or especially parking. Derek and Joanna bought this property with the goal of developing a pool and also trying to improve the overall flow of the property, the garage being a very important factor there. There was some looking at garage in the front lawn that was obviously, or in the attached garage on this side of the property, which was obviously not doable, meaning both the garage and the pool go here, and then the question was kind of flow and how do we make this an ideal layout, not only for themselves, but in the future. And so what we've come up with is, after a fair amount of versions, this scheme where the garage, which is currently in this corner here, would be removed. The pool would be built within an enclosed structure to allow for an attached garage to the house. This allows for, better long-term value of the property with an attached garage. And that results in the garage being pushed closer to the Ridge Road side and this is kind of where we get into the dimensional variance request. The front portion of the garage here beyond this dotted line to the east and these two corners seeking a total of an 8 feet dimensional setback at the closest point. So there were some original thoughts and versions where, based on some informal feedback that we had received, we thought it would be doable to apply the corner lot provisions to this property and actually half the setback. We were looking at some options of placing the garage actually more ideally on this side of the property. The challenge was it pushed the garage quite close to the setback. Oops. As you can see, one of the additional challenges of this property is the angled lot line on this side, so that creates a bit of a challenge when trying to maximize or optimize the space for our, oh, sorry, I got to put this back in. There we go. So a couple things I want to highlight here is that we are seeking an 8-foot dimensional relief at this corner only. Some feedback we gotten from Peter was the importance of keeping vehicles off the right-of-way, and as such we were able to push the front of the garage to actually maintain 19 feet directly in front of the garage as part of moving the garage to the north property line here. That would allow for parking for 2 visiting full-size vehicles without any use of the right-of-way for parking. So in addition to the, oh, I'm sorry, I'm taking up a lot of time here. So, and with this corner here, the other corner of the mechanical room being about 18 feet total. So one more thing I want to quick highlight is that this is fairly in keeping with the Ridge Road neighborhood. I think I've demonstrated that through some pictures and some good faith measurements that I've taken from the GIS data. On this last drawing here, I've highlighted all the addresses on Ridge Road that currently have some structure encroaching in that setback. So with that, I'd like to let Derek just kind of highlight his goals and share a little bit about the community feedback that he's,
All right.
sorry.
This will be quick, under a minute. I just want to say thank you for hearing our proposal and say that we have done quite an effort to reach out to all of our neighbors walking up and down the street and making sure that they understand what the plan is, and if they have any questions or concerns that we can answer them. We've had overwhelmingly positive support for the project. I think we got positive responses from all but 2, which we couldn't actually get a hold of because I think they're out of town for the holidays. We also wanted you to know, as homeowners in West Niche Hill for nearly 20 years now, and hopefully many more, we do really respect the integrity of the neighborhood and want to maintain that and the functionality of Ridge Road, and we believe this project accomplishes that.
Thank you. Would staff, excuse me, would staff like to make any comments related to this request?
Yes, I would. And, I want to start with, first of all, acknowledging the letters of support. There were a total of 8 letters of support received, and I provided a map identifying the location of those residences along Ridge Road, and some of them also had a Glenwood address. In addition to that, it was commented about the other structures along Ridge Road being close to the street frontage. And, as some of the board members that drove back there would have noted, a lot of the, because Ridge Road it's kind of a plateau, and then it drops off on the Glenwood side, and it drops off on the Alta Vista side. So the homes and the garages have been positioned in a manner where they're closer to Ridge Road because that's where the level building area is. Looking back at variances, I was able to find 2 variances related to front setbacks. One was actually for a garage on Glenwood Drive that was not constructed. And that was an 8-foot front setback variance granted by the board in 2014. The other front was, there's a garage that is within 2 feet of Ridge Road. And that one was from 1988 when that variance was granted. And I wasn't able to pull all the former information up. I don't know if there was a garage prior to that was in roughly the same location that led to them granting a variance to allow a garage to continue to be 2 feet from Ridge Road. But again, it demonstrated the commonality of placement of the structures closer to the street frontage. And then the other 2 variances were related to side yard setback variances for garages that were positioned close to the homes and right up against, that 25-foot front building setback. So it is, there are some unusually shaped lots. In this particular case of the 2222 Glenwood Drive, it has 2 front yards, and the lot width is only 59 feet, so whatever is built ends up being elongated because you don't have a lot of lot width to work with. Having the steep slope on the Glenwood Drive side leaves only the Ridge Road front yard area to put any logical addition on the house. So that was, that was noted in the staff findings under the hardships. The topography was referenced. Again, the NFP ordinance, as it was referenced by by Mr. Block, the NFP ordinance would not allow a garage to be built on the Glenwood Drive frontage because that slope is 20% or greater, and those are areas that are not technically, not buildable areas under the NFP ordinance. So that, that again limits everything to the Ridge Road front yard. So those are the comments that I have. I just wanted to make reference to the letters of support, the prior variances found, and the double frontage lot situation and the NFP ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. I would like to address the letters of support. It's showing 80, but on number 2, it's actually the homeowner that had a letter of support for himself. So I would count 7 instead of 8.
The property owner does own the corner parcel as well. What is that?
Yeah, I'm just saying he wrote a letter of support for
Yeah.
himself on this variant.
Well, he signed off because 2230 Glenwood Drive is, that property is also owned by him. So, yeah,
Yeah.
correct. You can make note of that in the,
Got it. Thank you.
well.
I will now open the public hearing by inviting those wishing to speak in favor of the request to please step up to the podium, sign in, and provide us with your name and address. You will have 3 minutes to speak in favor of the request. Seeing none, I will now invite those wishing to speak in opposition of the request to please step up to the podium, sign in, and provide us with your name and address. You have 3 minutes to speak in opposition. Okay. Seeing none, we are now going to check about the call-in comments.
And we have no call-in comments related to this case.
Okay. I will now close the public portion of this meeting. Is there any further discussion or additional questions before establishing the finding of fact?
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
Okay, yeah, it's our time.
I mean, my questions would obviously be for probably for the builder. I wrote your name down, Arnie. So you may want to come to the microphone, but if Mr. Molitor also is able to answer, or you can't and he can, then fine. So mine are more curiosity than anything, which is, so when I look at this schematic, which I've drawn all over, I'm just curious if some of the things inside the building, if it were made wider, could those go off to the side and then it could be shortened this 6 or 8 feet or whatever it is? Like, I think there's a hot tub here. Is that what I'm seeing? I need a magnifying glass.
Sure.
It looks like a hot tub. So my curiosity was there's so much on the setback on the side. Could it just be a little wider and that moves around and you can see what I'm saying?
No, that's a good question. The hot tub is one that I anticipated might come up, and I think the hot tub is really not there because it's a must-have so much as the foyer allowing access to the house from outside without entering the pool house. So say like somebody from the neighborhood comes, as opposed to having them walk into a pool house. The foyer area is quite important here. There's also a limiting factor on this side. There's actually a vintage bomb shelter underneath the ground there,
You
which
need
means that, I'm sorry?
I said, y'all need that.
Well, we're hoping not to need it. We're also not wanting to get rid of it. I think, so you can't really go wider in that case.
You can't actually go further back because of the bomb shelter.
Correct. Yep.
I was just reiterating that you can't actually go further in toward the house because of where the bomb shelter sits currently under the current driveway there.
Okay. So the short answer is no. This is as in compliance as you could, or as little. This is as little out of compliance as you could get it, is what it comes down to. Okay. That was my question.
The
You guys
minimum
go for
action.
it.
I just have a question. Is this on a hill? Is the prop, can you go back to the images that you guys showed us?
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, also
And
when I was looking at the map, is this over there at Crosstown where it seems like the one side of the road, it like slopes up
Yeah.
really dramatically?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's-
so
yeah.
your like Ridge Road would be literally the top
Of that hill.
going down to Glenwood, I think is the,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
So to answer your question,
sure.
the area being developed is quite flat, but overall the house is on top of the hill. If you look from the first pictures here, this is looking from the Glenwood side. So yes, the hill is with the property on the pool house.
And the
being on this.
development, can you show me from that image right there, like where I could view the back part of the pool or the garage? It would be attached to that right there?
So do you see where the cursor is now?
Yeah,
That's currently a flat deck on top of the garage. So
Yep.
that's where the pool would start working towards the right here.
okay. Just asking.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm curious if you could tell me, is there like a different setback from a road than an alley? I mean, I understand that like some of these addresses are Glenwood and some of them are Ridge Road, so it's not an alley, but at least it seems for the properties on the one side, that's essentially what it is.
Well.
So I'm more curious, is there?
Typically, there's not
Okay,
from an alley, because that's still a public roadway as well.
okay.
But in this case, yeah, both streets have, have driveways on them, so, but I understand your question, yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Anybody else? Gary?
No, I'm good. I'm all
Okay.
set.
Okay.
I'm set too. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion for the finding of fact?
I move the finding of facts for 2222 Glenwood Drive shall include all information included in the notice of public hearing dated December 27th, 2023, and the agenda packet staff provided for this request. There were 35 notices of public hearing sent out. They have a total of 8 letters of support, and one was from the homeowner. There was no in-house support and no in-house non-support, and there were no call-ins. Also wanted to state that Arnie Block with Block Builders explained the layout and why the owners needed a variance, and Mr. Moulter also spoke quite a bit in regard to his property and why they need the variance. That's the finding of fact for 2222 Glenwood Drive.
One comment on the finding of facts. So, I mean, there is staff support, if that's what you meant by in-house. Is that what you meant by in-house support?
No, I meant people in the audience.
In the room tonight.
Yeah,
Oh,
in the audience.
okay, I got it.
Thank you. Is,
Need a second for that. I would
I-
second.
okay, thank you. It's just, okay. Is there a second to approve the finding of fact?
I would second that.
Okay. All of those in favor of accepting the finding of fact, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please signify by saying aye. Motion carried.
I just want to make some comments. I'll be in support of the variance request. I know that the homeowner and block builders have looked at every angle that they could to expand the garage, and I think the 8-foot variance request is reasonable, and staff does support the variance request as well.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I mean, I'll comment. I definitely appreciate the work that they did to minimize the encroachment, and given which made the encroachment very minimal in this case, and that's why I obviously asked, could we make it even smaller? And the answer was no. I mean, I suppose the answer is yes, get rid of the pool, right? But short of that, this is the minimum, I think, minimum amount that they could do to come as close to compliance as possible. And given the other lots around it and the character of the land and the buildings and how close a lot of them are to the road, I think it's well within the generalized character of the area. So I'll support it as well.
Okay, thank you. I will be voting in support of this application as well. You folks have a great plan and are obviously committed to the neighborhood and wanting to not only keep things in alignment, but to improve your home and make it an area where you can live and enjoy a quality of life for a long period of time. And I like the fact that it is the minimum action taken, giving everything that it is that you'd wish to accomplish.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to support the variance request for 2222 Glenwood Drive.
I'll second it.
Mr. Eldridge, may I have a roll call vote?
We'll start with Wark,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
McReynolds,
Yes.
Vanden Hamburg.
Yes. The motion to approve this variance request has been granted.
Congratulations. Ernie, I'm a big fan. You did some work next to me over at Tristan and Emily's house on Stewart, so, yeah.
All right, and now for the second item on our agenda. Our board secretary will now read the second application into the record.
Okay, an application for a variance for provisions of the zoning ordinance has been filed with the Zoning Board of Appeals by Paul Basing and Claudia Wink Basing, and they're requesting a dimensional variance from Appendix A, Chapter 5, 5.1, Table 5.1-1 of 10 feet from the required 25-foot rear building setback for a residential addition. Please note that this request will not change the zoning classification of the properties.
Thank you. Will the applicant please step up to the podium, sign in, provide your name, and explain the request in the 10 minutes provided?
I should have said the applicant is requesting, but, sorry.
No, you did a good job.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Claudia Wink Basing. My husband, Paul Basing, is also here, and we appreciate your time this evening to look at the request that we're making to put an addition on our house that would hopefully allow us to continue to live there. We've been in that house, it'll be 36 years the end of March, and have found that along with a lot of the things that we like about Kalamazoo, that our wonderful neighbors are part of what makes us want to commit to staying there. And having a two-story house with laundry in the basement and bathrooms and bedrooms upstairs, we need to get something on the ground floor to make that feasible. So what we've proposed, we feel, is a fairly modest addition. It's roughly 500 square feet. And we plan to have it honor the style of the house. The neighborhood is full of a lot of variations of Tudor, and ours is of that type. So we plan to replicate the brick on the house and the addition and have Tudor front so that it really would be something that looks quite like the rest of the neighborhood. We happen to have a side lot that has allowed us to even consider this addition. We've spent a couple of years mulling it over and trying to figure out the best way to do it. We really appreciated the work that Marty Mechtenberg, our architect, did, and he submitted the paperwork that you have had to look at. He's not here tonight because he comes from South Bend, and we suggested it would be better to just, we can call him if you have any questions that are beyond my ability to answer. But again, the whole concept is sort of an aging in place notion. It is something that we feel is really suited to our neighborhood. We did not ask our neighbors for supports. We probably would have had them here if they had had their way, but we just suggested that they could, just send us their moral support. In the neighborhood, if you've ever come through, Benjamin curves as it comes off of Oakland and comes all the way down to Howard. And at the corner of our lot, there's a traffic island where Tipperary and Benjamin and Center Ridge kind of come together. And when the ash trees on that little plot of land died, my husband asked if he could move a spruce tree onto the lot. And in the 15 years since, he's made a park out of it with a park bench, and we've got a little lending library. And it's that kind of neighborhood. And he spends much of his summer out there pulling weeds and carrying buckets of water. So it's part of what makes you, choose to stay in the place that you're at. So as we looked at this project, wanting to, again, honor the integrity of the way the whole neighborhood looks, but our house in particular, and use the lot that we have, the best scenario we had requires us to be a little short of that 25-foot variance that we know is in place. If we were to move the angle of this addition, it would take out the windows and the lighting that we have in the existing living area and the main floor. So the angle is both aesthetically pleasing, and it is practical from that standpoint. The back of the house has a flat roof addition that we're not really quite sure when that was put on the house, that connects the back of the house to the garage. The garage is original to the construction of the property. And then that flat roof provides another little challenge to fitting this addition in. So that was the other reason that the angle is used rather than pulling the whole thing forward. And I think that's really the primary emphasis that we have. I know the materials that you have include some photos and drawings that were submitted by our architect, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Would staff like to make any comments related to this request?
Yes, thank you. And the Ms. Wink-Basing took most of my comments already. You hit all the main points there. But yeah, one of the main ones I wanted to point out was the shape of the lot. And if you look at the mailing map, the zoning map, that's the last page of the agenda packet, and you look at the depth of this lot compared to the other lots as it wraps the corner on Benjamin, you can see how all the other lots, are deeper lots. So what that's resulted in is, first of all, the house was built in 1917, so the zoning regulations in place today were not in place when this house was built. So we have an unusual shaped lot, and we have an existing house and attached garage that are non-conforming. The entire garage and a portion of the back of the house is within the 25-foot rear yard setback. So which makes for a difficult site to add an addition on when that much of the existing structure is already non-conforming. Yet with the additional lot that they own on the side of that'd be to the west side of the house, there's plenty of land area to place an addition. There's just not the lot depth to accommodate that without infringing on the setbacks. So the hardships are really the shape of the lot, the non-conforming status of the house and the attached garage, and staff is supporting this application tonight. The other thing I want to mention is there's also that elevation view highlights the windows that are in the west side of the house that would face towards where the addition is, so that itself makes it makes it complicated to add on without infringing on the window placements. Plus, this is a 1917 house, and the part of the point of offsetting the addition is so that it doesn't take away from the historic character of the house itself, the 1917 portion. So that is all I have for comments tonight. Thank you.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing by inviting those wishing to speak in favor of the request to please step up to the podium, sign in, and provide us with your name and address. Seeing none, I will now invite those wishing to speak in opposition of the request to please step up to the podium, sign in, and provide us with your name and address. Are there any call-in comments?
There are no call-in comments for this request.
I will now close the public portion of this meeting. Is there any further discussion or additional questions before establishing the finding of fact? Is there a motion for the finding of fact?
Oh, sure. I move that the finding of facts for 2223 Benjamin Avenue include all the information in the notice of public hearing dated December 27, 2023, and the agenda packet for us tonight. 46 notices of public hearing were sent, 0 responses were received. Obviously, we're having a public hearing. There were public comments allowed, none were made. As to the specifics of the request, can I just breeze through these?
Oh, sure.
One, the facts presented regarding circumstances or conditions of the property or structure, et cetera, et cetera. Problem with the property is it's an unusual shape. It's got a non-conforming structure on it already. The other lots are progressively larger as you go further up the street, I think, which would probably, if you move this onto the next lot, if you build it exactly the same, would probably wind up conforming. So let's see, the facts regarding the cause of special circumstances, again, are the land and the placement of the house on it already. As to the facts presented regarding whether the applicant is denied rights, et cetera, these people did not create the problem. The fact that the house was built when it was and where it was has created the problem. And I think the other facts as far as 4, 5, and 6 can just be lifted fairly straightforward from the agenda packet. And number 7 is obviously not applicable, and it's not in my findings of fact anyway. That's what I would move to be the findings of fact.
So good.
Is there a second to approve the finding of fact?
I second that.
Okay. All of those in favor of accepting the finding of fact, please signify by saying aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Those opposed, please signify by saying aye. Motion carried. Any additional board discussion?
The applicant answered the one question. I think Pete and I probably had the same problem. She answered all the questions as they came up, or that I might have had, which was, I just wanted to know, wasn't it just possible to shove the addition against the side of the house in that front, and then it would come into a compliance, which she already said, essentially it would turn the interior living space into a dark room, and we don't necessarily want that either.
Yeah, and it's not as cute either.
Yeah.
So otherwise, those were my only other questions.
Okay.
I'm in support of the variance. I think aging,
Chairperson, as far as discussion under Robert's Rules of Order, the discussion is take place after a motion is made and the discussion of the motion. We're having the discussion prior to the motion, so we should have a motion on the floor and then can be discussed.
So we need,
a motion.
so nobody has any additional questions or anything for Peter, the applicant, that's what you're saying?
Right, if
Then
there are
we
no
can go.
additional questions,
Then I would,
Okay.
if we have nothing else for them, then I would move to approve the variance, et cetera, in the agenda packet that Ms. Harrington read out already.
I support the motion.
Okay.
Now we can discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
correct.
Obviously, I'm in favor of the variance. And I really appreciate the aging in place concept. So,
Thank you.
Me too.
Okay. All right. Mr. Eldridge, may I have a roll call vote?
We'll start at the other end of the diocese. McReynolds,
Yes.
Holder,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Wark,
yes.
Vanden Hamburg.
Yes. The motion to approve this variance request has been granted.
I do like on these schematics when they draw in where the setback lines are. It's very helpful.
Let me see.
Put it here
Yeah.
and like they drew it here. I mean, they didn't draw it here, but they always
Yeah,
mark
yeah, yeah.
so you know where it falls. Sorry, Beth. Go
No, no. This meeting is adjourned.
That was easy today.
Easy peasy.